Joss Whedon is the man, and after the success of the Avengers, I think that most people agree with me. However, it hasn't always been that way. Whedon had a few hits on his hands before the Avengers, but for the most part, his career has been plagued by studios not understanding his brilliance. Today we're going to delve a little bit deeper into the mind of Joss Whedon and see what makes him tick, because for me, the most interesting thing about Joss Whedon is not that he's freaking amazing, but the fact that he's able to get across his ideas and his beliefs about the world in a way that never feels like it's preaching at you. I think there are three major isms that we can see in Joss Whedon's work, and those are humanism, feminism, and existentialism. Whedon said in the commentary for the Firefly episode Objects in Space that the most important book that he ever read for codifying his worldview was Jean-Paul Sartre's book Nausea. In Nausea, the most important moment is the moment when the character realizes that objects have no meaning apart from their existence, and that we should take objects only on the fact that they exist. In Sartre, this caused a feeling of nausea, but in Joss Whedon, it caused a feeling of excitement. He says that he takes objects to have all sorts of meaning because of the meaning that we give to them, the meaning that we imbue objects with. The exceptional thing about humanity is that we don't just understand that objects exist, we also imbue them with function, and beyond function, meaning. Now you see this in a lot of Whedon stuff, but particularly in Objects in Space, because there are two characters, River and Early, who have opposing viewpoints about a particular object, which in this case is the spaceship Serenity. In fact, the whole series Firefly is kind of based on this idea. Serenity becomes something different for each of the characters. For Kaylee, it's her baby. For Inara, it's her workplace. For Simon and River, it's a place of escape. For Mel, it becomes everything, a way for him to be free. Which leads to another important part of Joss Whedon's worldview, humanism and free will and faith. In another book by Jean-Paul Sartre, Being in Nothingness, he discusses the idea of good faith and bad faith. Essentially, good faith is acting out of your own person, where bad faith is acting out of somebody else's idea of your person, either by rule or by role. This idea is most clearly represented in the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer in the role of the Slayer. The Slayer, of course, is an ordinary teenage girl who is granted superpowers so that she can fight vampires and demons. At the end of season 1, Buffy drowns and dies until she is revived with CPR. And from that point on, Buffy isn't even the chosen one. The role of Slayer passes first to a by-the-book girl named Kendra, and then when Kendra dies, to the aptly named Faith. Kendra exhibits bad faith because she follows the rules of the Slayer. She's so by the book that she isn't able to think outside the box enough to defeat the demon which defeats her. Faith exhibits bad faith by the fact that she is so absorbed in the role of the Slayer that she thinks that she is beyond the rules. Buffy is just Buffy, and while she doesn't always know what that means, she's always trying to do what's right for herself and for her family and for the world. Buffy continues to fight because she chooses to fight. She refuses to let anyone define her. This is the essence of good faith. Now, Buffy doesn't usually say any of this. She's too busy kicking butt and trying to figure out what to do next. But Joss was able to put a very concise statement of his worldview into the mouth of Angel, when he said, "If nothing we do matters, the only thing that matters is what we do." Now we move on to feminism. Joss Whedon got his start on a show that was really groundbreaking from a feminist perspective, a show called Roseanne. In an interview with the New Yorker magazine around the time that Charlie Sheen was going through his whole winning breakdown, Roseanne Barr had an interview with the New Yorker in which she talked about, among other things, Charlie Sheen and 2.5 Men's producer Chuck Lorre, as well as Joss Whedon. When you look at the career path that these two writers took after leaving Roseanne, you're looking at two extremely different roads. Joss Whedon became an icon for feminism and gay rights, and using his fantasy settings, he was able to very creatively push the boundaries of what was acceptable on TV. Chuck Lorre shows don't even meet the most basic of feminist tests, the Bechdel test, which requires that there be at least 2 named female characters, that they talk to each other, and that they talk to each other about something other than a man. Look at any 2.5 Men episode or Big Bang Theory episode you want, and you are extremely unlikely to find that. Now, Joss Whedon has sometimes been accused of not being feminist enough, but I would say that for a straight white male, he does the best he can. Janice Benson, a co-producer on Buffy, pointed out in an interview with Google that no one ever challenged Buffy's leadership on the basis that she was a woman. They might challenge her for other reasons, you're exhausted, you're crazy, but never because she was a woman. So, to quote once more with feeling, where do we go from here? As filmmakers, storytellers, and artists, the challenge that we always face is trying to get across a point. Now, as I see it, there are 2 parts to this. The first part is to tell the truth. This doesn't mean that we can't make up stories. It just means that at the core of every story, there has to be something that we hold foundational. Second off, this means getting across our ideas not in a way that tells the audience something, but in a way that asks them a question. In the media-connected world we live in today, it's so much easier to say anything. But if you want to be heard, you have to say something worth saying in a way that people want to hear it. Thank you for joining me today. If you would like to hear more of my voice talking, you can subscribe to me up above, right there. Otherwise, you can follow me on Tumblr at stevevader101.tumblr.com or on Twitter at stevevader101. Thank you for watching. Have a beautiful day, and don't forget to be awesome.